Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. So guys, continuing our discussion on understanding the ruling planets of different countries. In this video, we will have our discussion on the Iran. So guys, a couple of things which I want to make it clear before we will start our discussion. The very first thing is that I'm an astrologer. The whole objective of this video is to talk from the point of view of the astrology. But just for me to take you to a level when I will start talking about the impact of a specific planet, I need to build some foundation. So whatsoever the stats and figures I will be explaining over here, all of that has been extracted from the ChatGPT. Second thing is that beyond any doubt guys, just because especially those countries who are a part of any ongoing conflict, there is going to be a lot of loyalty and a lot of backlash which comes when you're posting anything about it. So personally speaking, just because I like everyone, I love everyone, and just because for a small span of time I lived in that region of Vancouver, like North Vancouver, which is being resided by lot many people with the Iranian background and the rooting and all. So obviously I was a fan of like the Persian food, and it's very rare these days to find like 3 generations of people with that much togetherness over the weekends, doing picnic and barbecue with togetherness and all. So yes, I have like in a way observed a lot of the Persian culture and all, and in this video guys I will be solely focusing on that. First I will try to build a whole structure, because guys, even when we talk about from the Middle Eastern point of view as well, like countries like Saudi Arabia, like all that geographical boundaries, even if you take up the case of the Saudi Arabia, it is like formed on 1932 only. But when we talk about the historical ties of Iran, of Persia, that goes way long back. But in this video we will be only focusing on the last 100 years only, 150 years, like basically the chart on which we will be having our discussion. This is the chart which has been extracted by a very profound astrologer connected with the legacy of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, and like they drew this chart after the time of the great Iranian revolution as well. So once we will start like going deep in the analysis, you will get to know about that. So okay guys, now let's just start our discussion. I will be explaining you through the slides which I made in past like couple of days. So the very first thing is that guys, just because Iran is chiefly resided by the Shia population, so you have to understand the whole background. So after the Hazrat Prophet Muhammad, after that the son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad, who was the Hazrat Ali, the followers of him called as the Shia Muslims. So the global Muslim population is estimated to be around 2 billion people, out of which Sunni Muslim, they are like 85 to 90% of the global Muslim population, and Shia Muslim constitutes of 10 to 15% of the global Muslim population. After that guys, Shia population by country, so the major Shia population is concentrated in the Iran only. A small portion of that is also there in the Iraq as well, as you can see in the slide in your screen, Bahrain, Azerbaijan, Lebanon and Yemen as well. When we talk about the Sunni population, we know about that, like Indonesia, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, all these are majorly resided by the Sunni population. Now guys, the official language of Iran is Persian, Farsi. Now Iran is not a part of the Arab League, and now after that the strategic location of Iran on the map is very important, and I guess that is the only reason it has been a focal point of many countries and many wars as well, even in the past as well. So Iran shares its border with the South Asia, with Arab Peninsula, Persian Gulf as well. And even if you have to go back at the time when there was the British rule in India, so on one side it used to share its border with the British India and on another side with Russia, erstwhile known as the Soviet. Now, especially guys, when we talk about the strategic waterways, so over there the Strait of Hormuz, from where the majority of the oil trade happens, so that is also somehow is close to the boundaries of the Iran only. Now guys, majorly if you have to go by the, like the way I mentioned this thing, like Persians have got a very rich history and culture, but in this video we are like focusing more on the like the past 200 years only. So before the revolution, immediate before that it was the Pahlavi dynasty, and before that it was the Khazar dynasty. Now guys, even in like Iran, people with the religious leaning, who are called as the religious scholars or called as the ulemas, they are like seen with lot of respect, and just because over the passage of time they have also been bestowed upon with the power as well, political power as well, and even the highest, the most educated scholar even amongst those ulemas were being recognized as the Ayatollah. Now guys, we have to go back a little bit of the back in the time. So in the year of the 1804, like in the May of 1804, Russia attacked Iran, took control over the military rights at the Caspian Sea, and just in order for that alliance to form, which was called as the Treaty of the Gulistan. Then guys, in 1826, when the Tsar of, I guess, the Russia died, and finding the opportunity, seeing the opportunity over there, Iran also attacked Russia in 1826, and they lost the war and was fined by the Soviet Empire with the 20 million rubles, and the treaty was called as the Turkmenistan. I guess I'm pronouncing it right. Now guys, after that comes the involvement of the Britishers. So Britishers also defeated Iran and took control over the southeast area of the Iran, and which was later on called as the Treaty of Paris. Now the main objective for that was the after effect of that was the local Iranian traders called as the Bazaris. They started facing the heat because now they have to compete with the local Russian and the British traders in their own local market, and the worst affected industries were the textile and the tobacco. Now guys, after that, moving ahead, now comes the main milestone in the current Iranian situation, like the significant milestone of their history, which happened in the year 1896, when this English businessman and oil expert trader William D'Arcy, he got this information, and in his research he found that there could be major reserve of oil which can be found under the Iranian geographical region. So following the same hunch, on April 16th 1901, agreement was signed for 60 years that this William D'Arcy, he will explore oil in Iran, and if found, he will extract, trade and sell in the market. 16% of the profits will be given to Iran along with a fixed annual amount. So which the company which was formed was called as the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, and it was formed with the king that time. It was the Muzaffar Din Shah. Now guys, the year 1908 becomes very important in the Iranian history, because this was the time when the research which was going on, they finally found a major oil resource which got discovered on this year. That time Saturn was also transiting in the Pisces sign. Now guys, after that, just because a huge oil resource has been discovered now, so rumors started doing the rounds that the monarchy is becoming weak and corrupt. Local resources are plundering the foreign, like local resources are being plundered by the foreign nations. And guys, till this point of time, because US emerged very powerful after the Second World War, till this time it was the major interest in Iran was of Britishers, of UK, and was of the Russia. So just in order to counter that, the ulemas, who are seen as the religious preachers who have also been bestowed upon with the political power. So this majlis was formed, which can also be seen as the Islamic Consultative Assembly. Now guys, afterwards, in the July 16th, 1909, Muhammad Ali Shah becomes the king after the death of his father. Now he was the one who was very against the too much power given to the Majlis. So, but the thing is that the Majlis, people connected with the religion, they were the one who had the maximum public support. So because of the strong public support to the Majlis and repetitive conflicts of the monarchy with them, finally, eventually, the king has to flee to Russia in order to save his life, just within a year only of his being anointed as a king. Now guys, here comes the First World War. So the First World War began. Russia has to leave Iran, and UK's economy was so heavily dependent on the Iranian oil, so that UK still kept on holding its clout, its influence in Iran, kept on pumping money to maintain its influence over there. Now that was the time when the Pahlavi dynasty started, because UK, they somehow spotted this person, Reza Khan Pahlavi, the army military head in the Iranian services, and with their support and the money being pumped over there, they somehow in the year 1923 appointed him as the prime minister, purely being backed by UK. Now that time the erstwhile the king which was there, I guess it was the son of the Muhammad Ali Shah only, the Ahmad Shah. So he was being sent to Europe, and Majlis was taken control by Reza Khan Pahlavi. So he did that, he took control over the Majlis with lot of strategy and all. But the thing about him is that Reza Khan Pahlavi was very secular and very modern. And guys, like I was even giving attention to his date of birth as well. He was born on the 6th, like the number being ruled by the Venus. And somehow, like the whole Iran was like, they got that, what do you call that, modernization in the control of the Reza Khan Pahlavi, in the Pahlavi dynasty and all. So the pictures which you will see of the girls, like even the basketball team of the Iran, and they were like a lot of freedom which were given to the females at that point of time, like they were even given permission to have the government job, to like, you know, hold any of the important seat, and they were not any of the restriction when it comes down to their clothing choices as well. Men were like asked to wear the hat and the modern attire. So I guess there were also some source of entertainment as well, like clubhouse and all. Even in the mosque, they put the chairs over there as well. So after that, guys, when it comes down to the modernization with the Pahlavi dynasty was doing, Reza Khan was doing, there was one more concern over there, because he also tried to censor the media and the press as well. Trade unions were banned, political parties were suppressed, Majlis in a way was weakened, and the common man was burdened with the high taxes. In 1933, he also increased the profit share and the annual compensation in the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. The agreed amount, if you have paid attention to the last slide, agreed amount was 16%, but now he increased that from 16% to 20%, along with an increase in the annual compensation to the Iran as well. Now guys, after that, the Second World War begins. Throughout the war, UK and US, they used Iran as an import supply line to the Soviet war against Nazi Germany. So Soviet war, which actually defeated Nazi Germany only, but the import supply line was being used, and Iran was also playing a crucial role over there as well, under the guidance and control of the UK and US. Now guys, after the Second World War, there have been those speculation that Germany was also showing interest in the Iranian oil companies as well. They also sent their like diplomats, ambassador, in the Iran as well, which in a way troubled UK and US because they never wanted the Germans interference in the Iran as well. So Germany's involvement in Iran provoked UK and Russia to announce a war on Iran, which caused heavy inflation in Iran. After the war, UK and US they left, but Russia, before leaving, they supported the local rebel groups inside the Iran, and which broke Iran into pieces, like Azerbaijan and Kurdish Republic was a byproduct of that. After the Second World War, guys, USA emerged as strongest, and now they formed an international consortium giving US companies access to the Iranian oil along with UK. Now through aid, US actually started interfering in Iran's domestic affair. So guys, before that as well, Reza Khan Pahlavi, he was actually managing everything fine. It's just like that he was being targeted for his leaning towards the West. But after the Second World War, and when US actually emerged so strong, and they very aggressively started interfering in the local Iranian politics as well, which actually created a lot of the rift, and the byproduct of that protest was this man called as the Mohammad Mossadegh in 1951. So he was a key member of the Majlis, garnered heavy public support for raising voice against external influence in Iran, played a key role in nationalizing Iranian oil. US, UK called it a breach of agreement and imposed heavy sanctions, restricted international workers from around the world even to come and work in the Iranian oil factories as well. And they also barred other countries, created kind of an embargo that other countries cannot also buy oil from Iran. So guys, CIA and MI6 were also sent to Iran to give huge support to Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, and like Mohammad Reza and Mossadegh, the PM was removed. So because of the king or the monarchy was being supported by the CIA and MI6, because of their contribution and support, the democracy, like the PM of Iran, Mossadegh, was removed. Now Reza Khan started working completely according to US, like their puppet, and shifting advantage again back to the US oil companies. So whatever, when Mohammad Mossadegh he came into power, and whatever work he did for the nationalization of the Iranian oil companies and all, again after this coup, or when the whole power got restored back to the Reza Khan because of the support of the CIA and MI6, now he again started giving advantage back to the US oil companies. Now guys, after that came into existence the Supreme Leader in 1963. He came to power and influence. Before that as well, he was there, an integral part of the Majlis and all, but just because of the growing dissent amongst the masses against the monarchy, he came as a chief face of the resistance, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. I'm so sorry guys if I'm mispronouncing the name. I'm actually doing that with a lot of respect. Now guys, you will be surprised, like there are like certain people who have got a lot of like hypnotic charm in their preaching, in their speeches. Like some of those speeches, even like everything is being attached with the energy only. Some of those speeches, even when I heard, like just while I was doing my research over the YouTube and all, oh my god, it actually gave me that kind of goosebumps. And that was the kind of power and magnetic charm and the faith and the respect which he commanded. Like there used to be the horde of people which used to get gathered just to listen to his speeches. There was a time when the king sent him to Iraq, and he was still giving the speeches amongst the local Shia communities. Even in the Iraq, there was a time even Saddam Hussein got scared that because of his speeches there might be a resistance amongst the Shia community even in the Iraq as well. So that was the kind of power. Like his speeches, recording cassettes used to get smuggled back in the Iran as well. So that was the kind of power which this person hold. Now guys, on 4th November 1964, he was exiled to Iraq because the Reza Khan was like intimidated because of his strong support which was pouring into him to the Ayatollah. And after that, but he still kept on continued giving his speeches over there. And actually guys, the gist of the whole speeches was that no man can run the country, nor can any common man make any law. The right to make laws belong only to Allah, to the God, who can actually rule over the masses. Not a common man, not a monarchy, not democracy, nothing. Only God can rule over. And that was what actually was bringing lot of support to him from people. Now guys, his rallies actually gathered huge crowd, and cassettes of his speech while in Iraq used to get smuggled back to Iran as well. Fearful of recent or protest in Iraq, even Saddam Hussein sent Khomeini to France. Now guys, after that, now Khomeini was sent to France, but back in Iran, the king was finding it very difficult to manage the dissent. So the king also used the army against the protest, imposed restrictions on the media. October 1977, people even started protesting on the streets. On January 6, 1978, king published derogatory article on Khomeini, which added fuel to the ongoing protest. Now martial law was also imposed. US was all willing to even support militarily to the king as well. And on December 2nd, 1978, during the time of the Muharram, the protest went out of the hand, and which actually contributed to that the king flee Iran to get his cancer treatment in USA. Now guys, after that, now there will be a lot of the twists and turns which will be now building up. So Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, he now on April 1979 came back to Iran. Voting was conducted, and it was concluded that Iran did not need neither the monarchy nor the democracy. Islamic revolution actually happened that time, and Iran became Islamic Republic and all. So they actually chose theocracy over democracy and the monarchy. That means a system of government in which priests rule in the name of the God. Now guys, one of the most significant event which actually changed the course of history, or the alliance which actually made US now the bitter enemy of Iran. There have been other countries in the Middle East as well, but the terms of Iran after this incident were never able to recover with the US. So this was the Americans in Iran, their hostage crisis. So 52 American diplomat citizens were held hostage for, my God, I love this number, 444 days. I guess that is what the energy of the Rahu is, that there is so much of the hate and intensity that there was no coming back after this. There was no scope of reconciliation after that. So the whole hostage situation happened, demanding the return of their king from the US, who went there for his cancer treatment, but he did not also survive as well. He died within a year as well. So November 4th, 1979 was the day when this whole hostage situation happened. Because of the involvement of the Algeria, the diplomats were released, but they stayed hostage for 444 days. Now guys, as per the US press and media and the US President Ronald Reagan, Islamic Revolution was a state-sponsored terrorism. That was their version. Now after that guys, because we need to know that what was happening even amongst the neighboring countries as well. So Iran and Iraq war also happened, where Iraq invaded Iran because many Islamic Revolutionary Guards were entering from the border of Iran and giving speeches against monarchy even in Iraq. Because although Saddam Hussein was Sunni, but there was a good population percentage of the Shia people living in the Iraq as well. So any monarchy will be threatened after seeing what happened in Iran. And there was this area like Khuzestan was a very resourceful but was the disputed area. Shatt al-Arab waterways was also the epicenter of the concern, and Iraq also thought Iran's military right after the revolution was kind of little bit weak. So he saw it as an opportune time to take advantage of that and strike. Now guys, after that, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, he passed away because of the heart attack. And I guess, and guys, one more thing which I want to show over here. It is very rare, like, you know, there have been so many instances which has happened even in the past. Like, for example, when this the whole revolution happened, the kind of people gathered up. Generally, these kind of gathering and mass protest only happens when people are like fed up of inflation and other reasons. But in the case of the Iran, the public sentiments was more of, and they were very faith driven. And you will see that even in this instances, like this religious person was so much loved that there were like 10.2 million people who lined up for the funeral procession and almost for 32 kilometers to pay respect. Now guys, after that, one of his student of the Ruhollah Khomeini only, and who was also a key figure for the Iranian revolution and all, Sayyid Ali Hosseini Khamenei. So he presided over as the next supreme leader, and yes, so he took over as and instead of the Ruhollah Khomeini. Now guys, after that, before I will get to the charts, there are like certain instances which also happened in the past 2 decades, especially in the last 5 years, which I also want to mention over here. Like the assassination of this person, Qasem Soleimani. Like even I remember at that time when this news came, like the kind of people who gathered to show their support and their resent against US, which actually took which did that assassination. I still remember right at that point of time when Iran was mourning for the loss of their this person for the Soleimani. Right at that time, Donald Trump was tweeting back to back that if there is going to be any retaliation, we will do this. We are at guard. We are prepared. So yeah, this is not a very right way of what do you call that, countering with someone who is already grieving. But yeah, Donald Trump has got his own way of dealing with anything. So the way he speak, that somehow all the time make things worse. So yes, and immediate after that guys, this another person, he's also very important to know, because once we will start doing the chart analysis, you will get to know. Fakhrizadeh, he was an Iranian nuclear physicist and scientist. He was regarded as the chief of Iran's nuclear program. So Soleimani was assassinated by the US, and Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was assassinated by the Israel, by the Mossad. And also guys, like this also became a very famous picture over where like Netanyahu, right on the UN podium, he showed that we have got information that till what stage your nuclear program has reached. We have our moles, or we have intel regarding each stage and step of the progress. Now after that guys, now comes the chart, now for which the whole discussion for 15-20 minutes has happened so far. Now what we can see in the chart of the Iran. So guys, as you can see, for this chart I have my faith and confidence and conviction, because this chart has been agreed upon by the very senior astrology faculty from Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan in the 90s, and under the guidance of the K.N. Rao sir as well. So guys, the point of observation in the chart of the Iran, if you have to study about the ruling planets, the very first thing is that the key observation is of the ascendant. Jupiter being exalted in the Cancer right over there in their first house. So that in itself tells about that yes, theocracy is somehow suited for the growth and good governance of the government. 11th house, if you will see over here, the moon is exalted over there, being the rising signs lord. That also tells about that guys. And I guess I was also surprised when all these kind of revolution happened, when their favorite leaders happened, like leaders, they passed away, or in certain cases like Soleimani when he was assassinated and all, the public sentiments, like the way the whole crowd gathered for miles, that also tells about, because when we talk about these kind of large group gatherings and solidarity of the common man with the nation, with the national interest, you generally see that when moon is involved in this sort of alignment. Now guys, when we talk about the second house, now Saturn and Rahu in their chart is in the Leo. Again guys, the minute when I showed you the chart of the Russia, so So guys, if you remember at the time when we were having our discussion on the chart of the Russia, I showed you that the strength of the Rahu, Moon and Saturn in their 5th house, and I guess that is the only reason they were the ones who were responsible for connecting the humanity or Earth very first time with the space. Now when we talk about in the case of the Iran, irrespective of the fact that so much of the knowledge and wisdom in terms of the medicine, in terms of the philosophy has come from the Persia, why still they are not able to have any significant development over there? Now beyond any doubt, there might be the moles which they might have, the corruption, and where the information is being passed down to the competitors, like all the Western interest, and Israel, US and all, they would never want Iran to have that. But even after that, like Russia, China, North Korea, they are still supporting them. But why still it's not happening? So Rahu is afflicted in the chart. Rahu, Saturn in the 2nd house is not very well supporting it. Now guys, if you will look at their 8th house, in the 8th house you will see the combination of the Venus and Ketu in the Aquarius sign over there. Now guys, even if you will pay attention, like the way, for example, with the passage of time, certain Middle Eastern countries, they have become more liberal when it comes down to the rights and independence and freedom for the females. But when it comes down to Iran, in their case, the way Venus is afflicted, it is conjunct with Ketu. And again guys, again I always say this thing, you have to also understand that which is the governing planet in a country, which is the planet which represents the mass sentiment of that country. When we talk about the countries like Japan, you can say that because of their contribution to the world in terms of technology. You talk about Russia, so planets like Rahu can be given more importance. But when it comes down to countries like Iran, planets like Jupiter and Ketu becomes very important, and Ketu is conjunct with Venus and it is there in the 8th house. So the interpretation of that we will see in the next slide. Now guys, after that, when we will look at the 9th house, you will find Sun, Mars and Mercury being over there in the Pisces sign. So again guys, Sun and Mars, the whole power is again going to the supreme leader only, and the influence of that supreme leader is positive for that country, and that is the only faith or belief system which will again give them the place which they used to hold in the historical times. I'll explain that in the next slide. Now guys, now how we can relate on this chart with the upcoming transit. Saturn's transit to 9th house is not good news for the theocratic countries. So yes, there is going to be a lot of the problem which the supreme leader has to deal with. In terms of the Saturn in itself represents the public, the masses. So there is going to be protest, dissent, resistance within the country, which the supreme leader has to deal with. Rahu Ketu's inversion is going to be happening in their chart, in the country's chart. Again guys, it is not considered as very good, so it will again expose their nuclear intel to the foreign spying agencies. There is going to be hype which is going to be getting built, but when you will dig deep, you will not find anything. So the inversion is always a time of things going wrong or confusion or misunderstanding. It's not a very good energy. Now when we talk about Jupiter's transit to the 12th house, it might bring relief in terms of the sanctions, because even guys, Russia has also proven this thing, right? Again guys, when we talk about these kind of situation and all, see, you have to understand that why people are talking about and people are saying this thing that nothing good happened for Ukraine, this thing happened. The way I look at it, they have actually proven their point. See, when they went into war with Russia, so obviously a country like Russia, which has even defeated Nazi like Germany at their prime, when even the whole world was speculating that there was a time when the world was even prepared that Germany might win this war. It would have completely changed the face of the world. But Russia defeated Germany at its prime. They were the one who even defeated Napoleon. So how can you expect that Ukraine on borrowed weapon could have defeated Russia? What I understand is that their main resistance was for the resistance of their pride, of their honor. And I guess you have to give full points to Ukraine, that in the books of the history, they will be seen as a shining example that to what extent they went in order to maintain their glory and their honor. They will be respected for that. Now, when we talk about from the Russia's point of view, now obviously, in a way, the way NATO was expanding and spreading, they were undermining the might of Russia. And Russia actually proved that, irrespective of the fact that the whole world, we are going to be the most sanctioned country in the world, irrespective of this fact that behind Ukraine, we are actually like fighting and we are in a war with the combined Europe, with UK, with US. They even survived that. They gave a very befitting reply. So I guess the way Ukraine got what they wanted, Russia also proved a point, and US just wanted to sell weapons. It's like, imagine from the Lockheed Martin office executive to the White House, hey, we have a fresh consignment of the missiles and the weapons ready, and the Joe Biden, don't worry, use that weapon, one of the sample weapon in Russia, Ukraine, take a video and get the orders. So I mean to say, everyone got what they wanted. When we talk about from this point of view, guys, so from the Iran's perspective, it has got more to do with, if we have to talk about the objective, there has been those times when Iran enjoyed that might, that clout, that influence in that region. Like the way I mentioned, Saudi Arabia came into existence in 1932 only, the whole geographical boundaries. But when it comes down to the Iranian-Persian contribution to medicine, to culture, to community, that has got a very long historical ties. So the fight has got more to do with proving that point, that we could be seen as the custodian, or we can bring the glory to the Islam. So the main fight is of that. Now again, guys, there has been those debates. Could Israel, Iran and Saudi, can they all exist being equally powerful in the same Middle Eastern region? So it is open to debate, but all what I can say is that there is a lot of power potential which Iran holds. Now guys, now comes the another slide. So I guess I made a slide on that as well. So moon being a feminine planet, being the ascendant lord, is exalted in the 11th house. So mass protest could only bring temporary relief, but it's more complicated than Saudi. The freedom, when it comes down to the restrictions being imposed on the Iranian women, when it comes down to the hijab and all, and the moral policing and all, there's going to be a long way, and they still have to deal with that. It's not gonna go away forever. It's a rare possibility. The thing with the Iranian people is that whenever any news comes in the media, they all the time keep advocating what used to be the case when Reza Khan was the king in that era. But it was just a temporary phase. It's not like gonna come back soon. The way they enjoyed that level of freedom and being liberal and that kind of secular environment, there's a strong difficulty over there, because this is what the astrological alignments are saying. Had it been the chart of like Japan and Russia and all in other countries, I will be giving attention more to the planets like Rahu. But in their case, the 9th house, Jupiter, like Ketu, these are the planets which are very strong, and you call it destiny or what, Venus is entrapped over there. So Venus is conjunct with Ketu. Women in Iran will always be subjected to orthodoxy. Now guys, comes the next question. In terms of the analysis and the output, in their second house, there is a combination conjunction of the Saturn and Rahu. So the proxy wars will never benefit them. Proxy wars will keep on draining the country's economy and financial reserve. Saturn and Rahu in the second house. So Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, whatever groups, the radical groups, they are supporting, there's not much of the output which will come from there, from that route. Guys, the last slide. So there is a huge potential for Iran to lead Islamic world, advocating theocracy. So Rahu and Saturn will not bring the glory days back to them. It's the Jupiter and Ketu which will bring that. So yes, there is a huge potential for Iran to lead Islamic world, advocating theocracy and to relive their glory days. there's a possibility that in the Middle Eastern region, Iran could coexist as a major power hub alongside Saudi and Israel. So yes guys, this is something which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs. For further more updates and notification on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on my Instagram account. Dhanyavad.